Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Prospero.ai Stock Market Live streams. Happy Monday. Hopefully, everybody had a great weekend. We are seeing the markets open up just a bit in the red here mostly today. The Russell is currently the only index in the green. SPY, QQQ, and Dow Jones all in the red at this very moment. JC's in the chat already. Hello from Chile, NYC metro area. Yes, everybody up here in the Northeast is having some chilly weather, and I think actually a lot of people in the US are having a polar plunge right now. So everybody, hopefully you're staying warm out there. We have a bunch of great topics to go over today. We're back on our normal schedule of Mondays at 11 a.m. and Wednesdays 3 p.m. this week for the live streams. We have a FOMC meeting this week. George will join me in just a moment, and we'll get through all these topics that I'm about to go through in detail. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, like the stream wherever you're watching. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. Nick, you're tuning in from Thailand. Wow, thanks for joining the stream all the way from Thailand. What time is there? You're like way ahead of us, right? Are you watching from like midnight right now? You're gonna watch the stream, then probably head on off to bed soon. I hope you're enjoying Thailand. I've seen in the Discord. I think you're on vacation. By the way, everybody, the Discord is linked in the description. If you're not in, you gotta get in the Prospero Discord. JC's jealous of Nick. 12 hours ahead. Morning from Mario from Lima today. Wow, we have a very international audience tuning in. If you guys are tuning in from around the world, let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from today. But I'll take you guys through some of the topics we're going to get into. We have Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent commenting on his expected forecast of USA GDP growth this year being 3%. So a pretty good year, and probably a bit of why the market has done well this year is the growth the economy has seen. I'm going to ask George, does he expect growth to remain elevated as AI keeps deploying within businesses and keeps building out in this technological wave we are having? Nick, no, actually my PTO time ended, so I'm starting remote work from Thailand as of today. Oh, there you go. There you go. You went to Thailand and you're never coming back. I hope you're enjoying it. Sounds like you are. I want to bring up Uber on the stream today as well because we haven't talked about them in a while. They're a sneaky stock that's doing well this year, up about 50%. And people had a lot of concerns about FSD and the impacts of that tech on their business. And we've seen technology, the development of tech weigh on companies, especially when you think of stocks like Adobe and others. But it doesn't seem to be the case for Uber. So maybe that's a good sign that the long term, the company is looking good and people aren't as fearful of what full self-driving will mean for them as they once were. This one surprised me. I saw MicroStrategy is buying more Bitcoin, about $1 billion worth. And I'm wondering if this is a bluff or if they really just, if Michael Saylor really is just him, because everybody's been worrying about strategy. If Bitcoin keeps dropping, that they're going to get margin called or if they're going to, run out of liquidity. But, in the face of all that, Michael Saylor, probably the biggest Bitcoin bull in the world, just keeps on buying. So, is this a bluff or is this really a sign of strength that they have plenty of cash to be able to keep buying Bitcoin as low as it shall go? This purchase actually rose their price average on Bitcoin to about 75,000 a coin, just under. So, um, it's not. I think they started buying like the 20s or 30s, so it's really risen since then. We also have to bring up on the stream IBM making an acquisition today of Confluent. And I was interested in the story when I saw this because I remember a long time ago on the streams, George brought up Confluent as a stock because of their technology, who he liked. And IBM, I feel like, is having a quiet renaissance. So we have to bring them back up. Are they a player that can have sustainable growth and looking like a good investment? The stock is just about at all-time highs. Not quite there right now, but fairly close, and has had pretty good performance over the past 5 years. So we have to. And actually, what I forgot to mention also is IBM has like a quantum side of their business that maybe it's IBM is a way to get exposure to quantum without having to invest in these early quantum startup companies like the IonQs, Rigettis, and all of those that really have no fundamental backing to their business at this moment. So maybe IBM will look like an interesting investment. An update on the Warner Bros. Discovery bidding war that has commenced. We covered it last week on the streams. it was looking like towards the end of last week that Netflix had won the assets of Warner Bros. But today we got an update. Paramount is now making a hostile bid for the company of $30 per share, which, let me take a live look at WBD. I think it's still well above where the stock is at the current moment. Just about 10% above where the stock is at right now, and it's up 5 more percent today. And it's crazy because just in April, during the tariff plunge we had earlier this year, Warner Bros. Stock was trading in the $7 range, and now just over a half a year later, it's getting bought out for almost 5x that, four and some change. I think it's a good lesson I'm going to ask George about, you know, having cash for times like we saw in April, cash at hand to be able to buy distressed assets. It's kind of the Warren Buffett model, I feel like. But you know, the market's always going to give you opportunities, and it looks like Warner Bros. Was one of those with just how much its fellow entertainment companies are bidding it up now. Nick said Oracle, Costco, and Lulu, if George has time, they all have earnings this week. Yes, we can definitely go through some of them and check them out in Prospero. Let's actually just take a quick peek here right now and see if any are looking super interesting. I think I saw Costco on the short-term bull list, so um, they seem to have good signals. I pulled up Oracle first, ORCL. Upside, downside, nearly identical. 51 upside, 46 downside, so not too compelling there. But it does have a net option sentiment of 95, so maybe expecting some big move with the earnings. We saw how their last earnings went, so uh, we know they know how to talk up the market if their earnings are good. Costco, 76 upside, 41 downside, 88 net option sentiment. Looks much stronger overall in the signals. Let's see, trending. Net option sentiment trend looks good. Yeah, I would say Costco looks pretty good in the signals. What was the last one? Lulu. Lulu has been one that's been consistently in our short-term bull list this year, especially as of late, like the past couple of months. Still has a 91 net option sentiment, 69 upside, 53 downside, 86 net social. I think it's on the short-term bull list right now. Costco's there, Lulu's there. Yeah, so they're looking pretty good in the signals. Um, Seems like it's just a matter of time for those companies that they're going to catch a bid sooner or later. And I'm sure Lululemon will have something to say about the holiday spending they've been seeing already, and maybe some of those comments will impact the company. All right, a couple more topics to go through. We also have GameStop earnings this week, which you didn't mention. I want to ask George if he's interested at all, or if we're going to stop covering these meme stocks. It seems like I feel the energy for those companies kind of slowly dwindling over time as they are having less seemingly volatility and rallies, and we're further removed from the whole saga of it. So maybe they're not as interesting as they used to be, but we will ask George. Carvana joining the S&P 500 and joining nearly 100 and approaching nearly 100 billion market cap. So Carvana has gone from hero to zero back to hero. If you haven't followed their stock, take a look at their chart. They were one of the COVID bubble, quote unquote, stocks, but I guess not a bubble because they've come all the way back and then some to all-time highs, but dropping like 99% from their COVID high and now reclaiming all of it. Pretty crazy. Just in let's see, in January of 2023, so just coming up on 3 years ago, trading at $4.40 per share. So could have 100x in Carvana. Just pretty crazy stuff there. JC said Lululemon down 5% today. Something going on there. Interesting. I have a retail list. Let's see if other retail companies are down or if it's Lulu specific. Crocs down 5%, Elf Beauty down 3.7, Gap down 3.6, Nike down 2.5, On down 4. I wonder if there's a tariff update or maybe some weak numbers from one of those companies hitting the rest of them. Deckers Outdoors is actually one of the only ones I see up in the green today, which is one of the stocks I also wanted to bring up because we are about to flip the calendar to 2026. And you know what that means? It's time to go dumpster diving, fellas. We are going to look at stocks down 50+% year to date and see if any of these stocks can have better 2026s, flip the script, and recover. I have a list that I brought, but if you guys can find any stocks that you want to see added to this list, the only requirement is that it's down 50+% so far in 2025. I will ask George if he has any specific reasons when we go through this list as to why these stocks in particular have struggled so much this year, and if there's anything they can do to change the momentum and maybe have a better 2026. But the list I have for this is Lucid, Trade Desk, Lululemon's on there, Deckers is on there, Enphase, Wix, and Kava. So we have a list of 7 right here. If anybody has one or two that wants to be added to there, feel free to comment them in the chat. I don't think I've said it yet, but if we have anybody new in here watching the stream, we always love to see people asking questions in the chat. So don't hesitate if you have any stock or macro, micro, business, AI, whatever it is, feel free to ask, or even Prospero related. I will be happy to answer them. I'm going to take a look at SPY and QQQ net option sentiment now, and George will be in here in just a minute, and we'll start with the topics. But let me pull up in the Prospero app QQQ and SPY, and we'll take a peek. I feel like they've been all over the map recently. Does anybody else feel that way? I feel like we've seen a lot of volatility in these levels. Okay, so we have QQQ at 25 net option sentiment at the moment. And we have SPY at, SPY is back to 0. We're seeing that 0 trend in the SPY. In the past couple of days, it's been in single digits, back and forth with 0, but now at 0 as we open up today. And the markets are in the red. Let's take a live look. QQQ down about 1/3%. SPY down about the same. Dow down about the same, actually. And the Russell is barely hanging on to the green. 0.1% right now for the Russell. George, have any thoughts on Carvana? Well, here's George. We will ask George about Carvana when we get on.
Hello.
Later.
I was having my other table that I normally live stream on has like some Christmas things on it, but I actually think this might be better. I got my little like church in the back. It's like a bigger window. I think that's what's good about it. It's kind of like at my place 2 places ago with the bigger window. I just put up like a little like a one of those, like a foldable table.
That's actually what I'm on too. I like it. I'm missing your orange art piece though in the background.
Oh yeah, well we can get that. I think we
might have to put it on the balcony.
No, I can get it. Let's get the orange art.
All right.
I gotta be careful with this table though.
You don't want to weigh it down too much, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. Yeah, if it I could knock over this whole thing. Here we go. Bam.
There we go. It made it.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That thing is like a staple of the stream now.
I know. Well, it could maybe go. Wait, maybe it needs the sill. Oh no, that's too slanted. We're not doing that. Then
just don't get too emphatic with your points and knock it over with an elbow.
I almost knocked it over like last, but I think I'm more of a right gesture, so I think we'll be good.
JC said the orange hookah.
It's a very fancy hookah.
So we just took a peek at QQQ and SPY net option sentiments before you got in here. We have 25 QQQ, 0 for SPY. We're seeing the markets open up in the red today mostly. Russell is the only one hanging on in the green right now. And I feel like we've seen this more frequently as of late, where the Russell is beginning to maybe outperform a bit. Maybe people buying the dip on those stocks like you had mentioned that are down a lot but are, have high growth potential, the ASTSs of the world. I know in our newsletter, you said you're noticing a trend of people looking into stocks, their, quote unquote, GARP stock growth at a reasonable price. If you want to comment on that at all, what you're seeing in the market today, and how confident you are feeling as we head into the Santa rally season.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, the GARP people would like turn over if they thought I was actually like calling that real GARP. I'm actually talking about, I think, a transition that I'm seeing from uh, like pure YOLO price momentum to, I think, people caring a little bit more about the general thesis, right? And I think we came about that letter in an interesting way because I was looking at the divergence between QQQ and Bitcoin. And I think that was very interesting, right? Because I think for a long time, tech and Bitcoin were looked at just like, play the upside, it's a risk on market. But no, I think that what we're seeing now is a very different situation. And I think, it was very interesting. It was also like, obviously I shared a thesis on ESTS. But I think I also noticed the way people were talking there. I was talking to, that's kind of the time I talked to maybe the most retail investors all at once. And I think there was a lot of thoughtful consideration around why, AI might be better in the long term than cryptocurrency. And I think, that's kind of like the classic external forces momentum issue, right? Because when you're dependent on, say, like an administration and legislation to create the price momentum, and in the case of Bitcoin, right, in the case of, let's talk about a difference between like LEU and Bitcoin, right? LEU, like we're counting on some legislation to buoy the stock price even more, but we love their market position, right? One of the things that we called out is that they're selling to Korea. They have a forward deal through 2032, right? And, Korea is generally a country with really good technology. So the fact that they're kind of singling out, the LEU enrichment process, I think is a really good sign that there's tremendous value and growth to the business, irrespective of the legislation. Whereas if you're talking about, something like Bitcoin, that A is kind of inherently momentum because there is no business, and B, if it's getting inflated by like the promise of legislation, eventually, if that legislative momentum gets removed, that's going to remove the momentum of it.
Well, since we brought up Bitcoin so early, I had a topic for it as well, so I might as well bring it up now. And that was that MicroStrategy made another purchase for Bitcoin, acquiring over 10,000 coins, just under $1 billion worth. They bought them at 90,615 per coin, brought their overall average of their Bitcoin buys to just under 75,000 per coin. And this is in the face of the most, I guess you could call it FUD, maybe it's real though, of worrying about whether they're going to have liquidity and whether they're going to get margin pressure if Bitcoin keeps dropping. But Michael Saylor, the biggest Bitcoin bull out there, in the face of all that, buys more. Do you think this is a bluff, or is this a sign of confidence and strength? And how would you take it if you were an investor in that company?
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of averaging up, I would say. And I mean, I don't know how that works, how much they've sold, probably not a lot, but I don't love that average price for MicroStrategy. Granted, I do kind of agree with them that there's some floor support. Like I'd have a really, really hard time seeing sustained levels below, say, 50K on Bitcoin. I just think it has so much momentum. I think there's so much perception of value around it at those prices. But I do think the narrative, I do think part of what we're talking about in the letter, it has really changed in terms of the difference between how people talk about AI and how people talk about Bitcoin and how excited everybody's been about them for a bit.
Now, you were mentioning administrational support for stuff like the nuclear and the energy side of things. Trump did run and like with a crypto, focus. If Bitcoin dropped, do you think the administration would support it? And is that why you're talking about like the floor of it maybe being strong?
Yeah, I think they could perhaps bring more legislation. I think they could perhaps, buy some in the treasury. I think, that's all on the table in this kind of new paradigm for sure.
So Besant had some quotes that he came out talking about the U.S. economy, and he expects that the USA will finish the year with 3% real GDP growth. Is that, everybody talks and everybody hypothesizes why the market's up, why the market's down. Is that real growth we're seeing for the economy probably the biggest reason as to why the market's done so well this year in the face of a lot of concerns and worries? And if we can forecast it all, like with the level that tech or AI is growing, the impacts on business probably only to be getting better in the future. Do you expect the USA to run off a few years of higher than average growth, maybe through the 2020s?
Hold on, I'm looking at by. I mean, it is kind of funny for all the talk of like the terrible economy, like Biden's terrible economy, where it's like coming in 2.8, 2.9 last 2 years. God, politics are so interesting. I mean, it's what we've been doing, right? You just looked at it. It's like pretty much the last three years. I mean, I don't think, is that a reason the stock market's doing so well? No, I think the reason that the stock market is doing so well is AI, right? I think, what was it last week where you shared like the difference between like the S&P with AI and without it? Like that's what's making the stock market do well. AI, like, if anything, why isn't pushing, GDP up more? I think that's the interesting question, right? We have all of this, excitement around productivity, but maybe some of that productivity is being netted out with some of these things like, workforce reductions, right? It's an interesting story to follow.
Well, we have Nick tuning in from Thailand to the stream today, so I don't want to keep him up too late because he said it's pretty late where he's watching, and he had a specific question about a few stocks that are reporting this week of Oracle, Costco, and Lululemon. So if any of them are interesting to you and your thoughts on those companies, Costco and Lululemon are actually in our short-term bull list at this moment in the Prospero app. So
I feel best about Costco, but let's. I think it might. Sorry, Nick. It might take a little longer. I want to run it through our Perplexity. Is there any particular order you want them in, Nick? It's gonna take me a second to get it up. If I don't,
we got to get our stream sponsored by Perplexity. So every time we do this,
yeah,
we don't give
I
them
agree.
Free publicity.
Okay, we're going to do Lulu first because that's actually what I'm most interested in, and then we'll see if Nick has other preferences.
I feel like Lulu has had strong signals for a bit now, and I feel like it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, it kind of makes me want to hold, but I don't like it could be those shorters trying to get it at all right, we got Lulu burring. Oh, Oracle would be interesting too. Well, I'm going to do Oracle next. All right, let's just do the next question, and we'll just come to these. I'll do them in order, and we'll come to these when we can.
Mm-hmm. Oracle, I'm going to be interested because I think this is the first earnings since that historic one that took place the last time where they shot up like crazy. So how do they follow that up? We shall see. But yes, I had a question for you about Uber today. Flying under the radar, I feel like we haven't talked about that stock in a while, up about 50% this year. And a lot of people had concerns about the rollout of full self-driving for this company, but it doesn't seem like those concerns are coming to fruition. And I feel like the way you can see this best is when you look at a stock like Adobe and the concerns that people had for AI affecting their business there. So you see one case of like how tech disrupted a business and it actually seems to be affecting the company. But with Uber, the FSD of Waymo and Tesla are rolling out now, and it's not disrupting the stock. So does that give you confidence? How are you feeling about Uber at this moment that they will thrive in this, next, phase of transportation that we're entering?
I mean, I'm honestly concerned. Like, it might not happen yet because it hasn't really moved the needle on market share. but yeah, I'm definitely concerned. Like they had their own play in self-driving. They don't anymore. I mean, they could partner with one of these companies, but I think that's an existential threat to their business. And like you just look at like you look at all of it, and you look at the fact that like they don't really pay their workers like full-time salaries, and or sorry, they don't give them benefits. It's just like I just look at their businesses and I look at the like horizon of them, and I don't like what I see in the long-term future. And like that's always a barrier for me. Like there's some things that I'll play short term if I just don't have a big enough, like if I'm just like neutral on the long-term future. But you never know when that future is going to catch up to the present. So a stock like Uber, I just don't like.
Here's a question I'd ask for you following up on that. I don't know what the like total transportation industry is at this moment, but I would imagine with the automation of it, it will like grow a lot in the future as you know everything just becomes. We see how there's one day shipping now. Everybody's door dashing. Everybody's just ordering everything. Do you think even if Uber loses market share, the industry and just transportation will grow so much that they can grow from the level they're at now?
I mean, how much could it grow? Like, like whereas I mean maybe in like emerging markets, but that's another risk, right? Like who knows in these like big cities how much longer like that self-driving might roll out faster. Like I'll ask this is more of a chat GPT thing. But how can you list Uber's? What did people do before this? Like this is just like Uber's percent of revenue in its largest countries other than the US. I misspelled countries and it doesn't even matter. It's not even going to be like Google that's just like, did you mean countries for real? It just gives me the answer. Okay. Well, it didn't give me countries because I misspelled them. Europe, Middle East, Africa. Why do they put all those together? 28.5%. Asia Pacific, 11.5%. That's where I'd be really worried. That 11.5% in Asia Pacific. I also think the Middle East might be pretty early to get self-driving. You know what I heard? This I was like registering for this this new like club that I'm gonna be at. I met someone who did software, and I guess they did a lot of government software, and they had Saudi Arabian developers. So I think that was an interesting thing to hear, and I think it really represents a shift in like, can you imagine like 10 years ago, like us having government software built by like Saudi Arabia? I was like, whoa, we're becoming a lot more aligned with the Middle East. Yeah, that was just an interesting thing. Anyway, like Europe's tough with the self-driving cars. I don't really know. I don't know how to forecast that. But I think that Asia being 11.5%, I think they could be pretty self-driving pretty soon. But it's an interesting question for sure.
Well, I will say your opinion on Uber does align with our signals because they're not looking great for them. 44 upside, 49 downside, 51 net option sentiment. So not the best looking stock in Prospero. I have to thank the doctor, Mr. Matt, reposting the stream on Twitter. Appreciate it. Thanks for spreading the word of the stream today.
Dr. Matt told me he had like he had an ex that had like more followers than we do now, that he just gave up. So maybe yeah. The game, the preaching game got too stressful for him. But yeah, I'm sure he enjoys that we have the church background this week. But no, I think it's I don't like Uber. I don't really like them as a company. But who knows? Like I would always say that about Palantir, and then I capitulated to the crowd, which I think isn't always an important lesson, right? Like I don't really like Uber as a company. I mean, the guy that runs it now, I don't mind as much as Kalanick. I mean, actually, there's nothing to mind about him. He's very milk toast. But I just still don't like. I don't like that they don't, give their workers benefits. I think that sucks. But yeah, we always practice what we preach. We kind of had moral issues with Palantir, but the second that our platform really liked it, we had to go with the numbers. So that's always a good lesson for people.
Do we want to circle back to those perplexity prompts, or do we want to go on to
Thank you
another?
for the reminder. Let's see. Lulu, the brutal year. Wow, they don't like. Okay, the whisper number is 2. Wow, the whisper number. Ooh, this is like a dead red warning. The whisper number is 250 a share, and the consensus EPS is 222. Yeah, we're getting the hell out. When do they report? Their gross margin is expected down 410 basis points year over year, which with Perplexity goes on to say in parentheses is catastrophic. Yeah, run for the hills. Wait, what's Lou? I might exit it now.
They report 12/11 after hours.
We're getting the hell out. I mean, we might see if it recovers a little. Going still at 89, but yeah, don't hold through earnings. Everybody, get the hell out.
Interesting. Wow. I hope Nick's still here to see that. If not, I'm sure he'll watch it back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we got to do the next one. Yeah. Get out, Nick.
Which was next? Oracle?
Yeah. Wow. Some of these Perplexity ones, it's just like they put together the stats like that. 410 points in gross margin. I wonder if that's all the theft. I wonder if it just got out that you could steal from Lululemon, and now it's just like out of control. Wow, that's terrible.
Theft or tariff? I don't know. Maybe double whammy.
Yeah, that's frightening.
All right, so we'll come back to Oracle.
We're running the next one, yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up this story I saw about IBM acquiring Confluent today, because I remember way back on the streams, I don't know how long ago it was, but you mentioned Confluent as like a sneaky stock you liked. So IBM's buying them. They were up 29% today. It was an $11 billion acquisition. But honestly, I wanted to bring this more in the IBM focus side of the story, because I'm wondering, is IBM having a renaissance? They have the quantum side of their business that I feel like if you're someone who's interested in quantum, but you don't want to invest in one of those startups like Rigetti, IonQ that really don't have much of a business right now, IBM gives you that exposure, but they have such a strong business and like earnings and fundamentals. Is IBM a sneaky good stock at the moment? And maybe are we like after the AI buzz, when the quantum buzz fully hits, are they going to be positioned well for that?
There's stocks I don't like, as we're just talking about, and then there's stocks that just do not excite me. IBM is one of those. And like, if IBM got some new blood in their leadership or something like that, I might be inclined to change my tune on them. But yeah, I'm not inclined to change like any company that like squanders a lead they have so substantially. And I said, I'm sure people have heard me make this prediction a lot, that I think that AI is going to kill like big consulting like McKinsey and those places. And I just actually saw an article that came out about that. So that's my prediction. I'm sticking to it. I think big consulting is dead, and consulting is a big part of IBM's business. Like I think this consulting is going to become so much more automated, and I just don't think IBM is that smart. To be honest, like I don't think their leadership, I think they're coasting on what they've had before. So there's been some times where we added it where the signals just looked overwhelmingly good, but it's the same thing there. Like I put them and Apple in a similar category. Where it's just like, I mean, Apple is kind of like in an earlier part of the cycle. But I consider those two like to be very similar.
So follow up for that. Once a company gets to that state where they're so boring, so like non-exciting, you mentioned like a new CEO, new blood in the company. How easy is it to flip the script? Is it like something overnight with a new CEO that can change, or is it going to take time? Is it like almost an impossible hill to run up? once you're so far gone, like you mentioned how Apple's earlier in that, phase of it, would it be easier for Apple to like regain that strength, momentum, buzz, energy? And is IBM too far gone? You couldn't even see it happening.
No, I think a new CEO can always change things. But it depends on who, right? It depends on who. It depends on like what their goal is. But a CEO is like very, very, we've seen it how some of the best. I think it's kind of harder for a new CEO. I think new CEOs, they tend to be people that, if anything, are better at like maybe cut costs, reorganizing things. But I'm trying to think of an example of a new CEO that like really changed the trajectory of a company in a very positive way. We're going to generative AI.
Well, that was supposed to be the promise of Brian Nickel, the guy who left Chipotle for Starbucks, but I'm not sure that's coming true exactly.
It's hard, right? It's hard. Like, you have to change what a company does. You have to change a culture, and there's nothing harder changing a culture that, like, the larger the company get.
Mm-hmm. JC commented, took Gerstner years to turn IBM around. Matt said it's a true story about his Twitter. He's confirming.
All right, we're using a lot of generative AI. Wow, they're already like this one. I'm getting two very different answers. It's one of those like spin. Andrew Rees at Crocs. That's not a bad one. Alan Mulally at Ford Motor Company. I think Steve Jobs is a really good example. I think that's a great one. And then Brian Nickel at Chipotle is a really good one.
Satya Nadella comes to mind at Microsoft. I feel like they were in a bad place before he took over with Ballmer.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. Like, I don't know. I think, yes, he's an improvement, but we don't know the long-term impact. He was getting a lot of credit for these acquisitions and everything, but stories being told, right? If Google ends up beating, especially on the B2B, like we're talking about, beating OpenAI, that's a huge disaster, the amount that Microsoft paid for that, because that was what they were thinking on the B2B end. Yeah, I've got a real like Google, like, I don't know how to deal with some of these trolls. Like, some of the people are very angry that we missed Google. And Google looked pretty good in our signals. Like, I could pull up the historic like upside, but like, yeah, we're getting, I don't know, especially around Google. But I don't know if they're like from competitors or whatever. We can't really change that. But like, yeah. I
was gonna say, I think Google was like looking pretty great in our signals for a while. Maybe, I don't know if they're talking about the signals or us having it in our like model portfolio or newsletter picks, but what are you gonna do? Can't win them all, George.
This guy came out back again.
We can probably take a look at those Oracle earnings and see what our perplexity has told us about these upcoming earnings this week.
Okay. This is a more reasonable whisper number, 170 a share. I mean, this thing could just rocket. People are very sensitive to this.
I guess the question for Oracle, seeing the way they moved last time, would be like, did they fire all their bullets on the last earnings, and like what would they have left to surprise people?
Their forward PE is only 23. Okay. Beat stock 11%. Beat EPS. Guidance disappointed in Q4. The game period is looking pretty good. How do our signals look?
Oracle currently has a 51 upside, 48 downside, but 93 net options.
Yeah, I don't love that.
Get a little bit of a mixed picture there.
Yeah, interesting.
I want to see what the date that they actually report. Oracle reports on Wednesday after hours, so we'll be live just before their earnings. So if anything changes, we will be live to report if the signals are looking better as we get closer heading into it. Mario commented, Google's just one company that is not that impressive given the run of others before its recent move. Yeah, especially after it has rallied so much, probably not the time to get interested in it as it was before. We have to bring up Netflix again on the stream today, or not Netflix, Warner Bros. On the stream again today because there's been an update. So it was looking like at the end of last week that Netflix was going to be the company that was acquiring all the assets. But it came out today that Paramount is now making a hostile bid. And I was wondering if you could give any color on what that means exactly, of $30 per share, which is more than Netflix offer was. There was also a lot of talk about how there's going to be regulatory scrutiny already, even when it was looking like Netflix was going to be the recipient of these assets. But if Paramount is making a hostile bid that is greater than Netflix, is there anything Warner Bros. Can do but accept?
Now, I don't really know. I mean, I think they should accept, but I don't really know what the protocol is. I think the board ultimately has to approve it, and if they know that there's a better deal on it, they might. But yeah, I think they should approve the higher bid. The only thing that might make sense is that I imagine some of the deal is in stock, and Warner Brothers could make the argument that they think the long-term value of the stock um, to their like employees and to everybody that's getting it is better. So that could be the one wrinkle because there is like a lockup if you get Netflix stock on these kinds of things sometimes. So it's interesting. I actually don't know enough about how these bids, the legalities behind how they're handled, but it's definitely an interesting development.
The other thing I think that it's interesting about this story is shining a light on like why it's so important to hold cash for times of distress, almost like the Warren Buffett method of investing. Because Warner Bros. Was trading at $7 and change per share back in April when the tariff turmoil was hitting the markets. And looking back at it now, it's obvious that with all the assets that they own, that was an undervalued company that was probably just dropping because of the overall market turmoil. And you know, keeping that in mind going forward for when times you see where good companies with a lot of assets and a lot of business going on and potential in the future are trading at such undervalued, depreciated levels. As we've seen, it's almost 5x in just a few months. So there's probably no way to justify it trading at $7 per share just 6 or so months ago.
Yeah, I mean that's how it goes sometimes with this stuff. It's pretty crazy.
A few more topics to go through. We have
Oh wait, we got to put in the last. So Oracle looks like a yes. In terms of the game theory, I don't really like that 51 upside, but wait, I'm looking at the bottom line. Yeah, it definitely looks like a yes. But it says guidance is everything here, so don't get too excited on the double beat. I think is a very smart thing. Or an interesting way to trade it could be I'm thinking about this. Get the double beat, get the appreciation, and then get out before guidance. But sometimes guidance comes pretty fast. That's risky. Yeah, I'm not recommending that. I'm out. Wait, what was the third one? Cost?
Yeah, Costco.
That was my quickest exit ever on an idea.
Costco's chart is looking dangerous, trading at 52-week lows right near them right now. Probably a very critical earnings coming up.
Oh, it's looking 52-week lows? I thought Costco was doing well. I might like Costco on that basis.
Wow, JC just said Oracle is down about 33% in the last 3 months. So it sounds like they've given back basically all the run from their last
Yeah, but it
earnings.
was up like 50% in a day.
It was. Actually, you know what's interesting? I think it's lower than it was even pre earnings last time. It is. So like it's given back all that run plus some, which is a little odd to see how strong the reaction
Yeah.
was. As we're waiting for Costco, there was news of Carvana joining the S&P 500 today. This is one of, I feel like, the more interesting stock charts of all time, with it going so crazy during the COVID boom and then dropping 99%, and now not only reaching like new all-time highs, but it is now about 20% above its all-time highs from just a few years ago, approaching $100 billion market cap. How do you feel about Carvana now up 11% and change today on the news that they're joining the S&P 500? I'd imagine they'll never experience a 99% drop again now that they're in this index.
I mean, Carvana is one of the weirder stocks we followed. Like, let's see, 68 in option sentiment, very high technical. I just can't get like. I feel like Carvana is just like such a what? Why is it moving today? It's like, is it in earnings?
It joined the S&P 500,
Oh,
or it was
yeah.
included.
I can't get excited about Carvana.
Like, if you had to, you know, think about why a car dealership could trade at 100 billion and people are so excited about it, would it be that they expect like Carvana could dominate that entire industry and start like taking over the whole thing the way other companies with tech have taken over industries before? Like, what is the bull case where, at $100 billion market cap already, people could get excited for its future?
Yeah, like that. I don't know.
It puzzles us both. All right. So we'll have to keep our eyes on Carvana. Their stock is hitting new highs of the day, approaching 12%. So interesting move there. What I have one more topic about GameStop, and then I have a fun last one. We're gonna go dumpster diving. I think we did this last year too at the end of the year, but I have a list of stocks that are down 50+% so far in 2025, and I want to see if any of them are interesting to you for 2026. But also another company reporting this week that we haven't talked about yet is GameStop, and I'm wondering if you're interested at all in that earnings report. I am personally feeling like the GameStop halo and the buzz and the energy around these meme stocks is slowly dwindling over time as the volatile moves are becoming less, the up moves are not happening as frequently. But are you interested at all in GameStop? They report tomorrow after the market.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'll always take it for a little ride when the signals look good, but yeah, not particularly.
I will say we have a short on our video that's like 2 years old now about how AMC is spiraling towards bankruptcy, and I still see it getting views all the
I mean,
time. And
how far down is it since then?
uh, well, it's down 50% in the past year and 89% in the past 5 years. I don't know from that exact date. It's probably down like I think 95+%. I think that was in 2023, and they had a huge drop towards the end. Yeah, I
That's
mean,
hilarious.
I don't know. I mean, like what is going on with that company? Are they actually going to go out of business or what?
They're being kept alive. They continue to like loot the stock, and they're being kept alive.
Hmm. Yeah, so interesting to see there. It doesn't seem like they even have the same retail like meme stock frenzy that GameStop continues to have a little bit of support, but going to be interesting to watch them after the market tomorrow. Ryan Cohen did just make a quote unquote cryptic tweet, as it's being called. He just posted himself buying 8 ice creams, and people were hypothesizing as to why there was 8 in the photo and why he would post that before the earnings. So maybe he's buying himself a treat for a good quarter. We shall see tomorrow, though. All right, so we have to go through this list of 7 stocks I had. I asked everybody in the beginning, but if anybody's new tuning into the stream now, if you have a company that's been down 50+%, feel free to comment it in our chat right now. We can add it to the list. But if not, we'll go through them. I want to thank everybody for being in the stream today. We've had 1,200 people tuning in, so a lot of people have viewed the stream. Like it up if you've enjoyed it so far. We're going to go through this topic and then give that final earnings look at Costco and then get into the model portfolio. But okay, so this is the list of stocks I have that are down 50+% in 2025. We have Lucid, Trade Desk, Lululemon, Deckers Outdoor, Enphase, Wix, and Kava. Now, if you had to go through any of those and rank which one is the most interesting to you or least interesting, which stocks from that bunch would make the cut? And are you interested in buying any of them heading into 2026?
I don't know. No, Wix is a nightmare. I mean, Lulu, I think, is the only one. I'll take a look at Kava. Trade Desk, maybe, not really. Kava could be. I think Kava was so much. Yeah, Kava looks okay. Maybe Kava, maybe Lulu. I think Deck looked okay. I mean, some of these retail ones I think generally could rebound. I want to check Deck. Oh no, Deck is not. Yeah, Deck looks pretty good. Age unit option sentiment. Maybe Deck's there. I think Deck actually looks like the winner based on net option sentiment. But definitely not Wix. Wix is Lovable is going to eat Wix.
Could you speak on that a little bit more? Is that kind of like the same thing you were saying with consulting and like the impact of technology, or something else?
No, Wix makes it easier to make websites. Good morning, Kevin. And Lovable is making them in more automated ways. It's really that simple.
Interesting. So Lovable, using AI, I'd imagine, is like the number one website builder, or growing the fastest, looking like the best at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
This guy in the chat asked about NVO, not quite 50%, but close, adding it to that list of stocks.
Yeah, I don't really like. I'm a little afraid about how it's developing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you want to take a look back at Costco, and we'll give our final earnings preview, and then we could do our switch over after?
Mm-hmm. Whisper number has a range. EPS 4.15. Whisper is 4.18. Let's see. When's earnings?
Their earnings is Wednesday.
Costco is looking. Oh, Costco's beaten the last 4 times, but modest moves, very modest moves. Actually, this is interesting. So they beat in the last 3 times. One was up 2.2%. One was up 2.9. One was down 1.8. It seems like the guidance is not helpful. Medium positive reaction plus 2.8. Medium negative reaction minus 2.4.
Their earnings is actually Thursday. So it doesn't seem like any of these earnings plays are really all that interesting to you, but you're never really much of an earnings player to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, we were for a little bit, but it's so much volatility. Like Oracle's an interesting one. I mean, what I was thinking about is it might be good to check the price of puts and sell some puts on Costco around earnings.
Do you feel like
down moves aren't that big?
I feel like volatility in the markets have kind of over the past week or so, the moves haven't been too big. We're kind of floating higher. Do you expect? I know there's usually a bullish feeling in the markets as we get towards Christmas and the end of the year. Do you expect any more big volatile moves this year, or is everybody going to kind of wait until next year begins and maybe we'll see our next, either big upward or downward move in January?
I don't know. I think this week is going to be very interesting.
All right. Want to do our switch over and we'll get into the model portfolio update?
Yeah.
All right, everybody stick with me. Thank you guys for being so active in the chat today. I appreciate you all tuning in so far. We had a great amount of people in the comments. Like it up if you haven't yet. George is going to be right back with us, and he'll be in the Prospero.ai laboratory, and we'll be doing the model portfolio, which if you haven't seen it before, we make live ads and drops, so you'll get to see the moves we are making. I was saying it's not that volatile, but we do see the VIX up 9% today. So if things keep heading that way and the VIX gets back to 20 or so, maybe the tides will be turning. We are seeing the markets overall in the red today. The Russell remaining in the green, up about 0.25% at the very moment. Let's take a look at the QQQ SPY net option sentiment, and also we'll take a look around the markets and see what's driving us today. But I'm pulling up the Prospero app now. I'm going to take a look at the QQQ and the SPY. Mario asked, is the Wednesday meeting at the normal time? Yes. So Wednesday's meeting will be 3 p.m. EST. Wednesday's live stream, I should say. So we're back to our normal schedule this week of Monday, 11 a.m., Wednesday, 3 p.m. Okay, I have QQQ. Okay, so QQQ is up to 35 here. In the beginning of the stream, it was in the mid 20s. Oh no, it just updated back down to 31. All right, but still higher than the beginning of the stream today. And it's looking pretty range bound for the QQQ net option sentiment ever since about November 26th, 7th. It's leveled off pretty much and it's kind of just been bouncing sideways in a decent range, but between like the mid-teens to low 40s, just a bit of a sideways trend there. Looking at the SPY now, the SPY is still at 0. Going to be interesting to see if the SPY stays down at 0 as we close today. The SPY was looking to have some upward trending in its time series graph before plunging on December 3rd and remaining low ever since. So we have to watch the SPY, see if this keeps on keeping on with the low signals. I will take a look at the Mag 7, see how they are doing today, see if any other stocks are making big moves as we were live on stream today. Google is now down 2%. So there was some chat about Google on our stream. They are red today. Apple red, Amazon red, Meta red, Microsoft green. Interesting. So Microsoft not following along. Tesla down 3.5% today. So a bit of a bigger move there for Tesla stock, although they've been doing very well. Let's take a look at NVIDIA, which has been getting the most competitive threats against them as of late. NVIDIA is in the green today, so not too bad there. Intel down 3.5% today, giving back some of those gains it had from the rally. Let's see. Let's take a look at Bitcoin, see where they are. It is at. Interesting. On a day where MicroStrategy announces they're buying about $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, which used to really boost the Bitcoin price back in the day, Bitcoin is down 1.5%. And it was actually green to start the day, and it almost looks like it went red on that news. So I'm wondering what we can read in there, if that's actually a sign of the times. We'll have to keep our eyes if MicroStrategy announces any further acquisitions of Bitcoin, how that affects the price, if it's positive or negative reaction. Today, it looks pretty correlated, but we'll have to add a few more dots to that thesis and see if it continues that way. We take a look around the markets. We noticed in the beginning of the stream, a lot of retail names were down a lot. We were looking at Lululemon, but it seems like a lot of them are in the red today. Deckers is still one of the only ones in the green. We haven't talked about our quantum favorites much recently. I tried to get them in here in the stream today a bit, but these stocks have been ones that have plunged after the strong rally in the fall of this year. Not quite regained strength yet in a lot of these names. They're kind of bouncing around towards the lows of where they've been at, but I'll keep an eye on them, and if anything happens, we'll bring them back up on the streams. CoreWeave, an old favorite, is down. Wow, it was down a lot today. It was down as much as 9% today, and at $83 per share right now. Interesting. CoreWeave has been explosive ever since it IPO'd, and the story is still unfolding. Bringing up Palantir here as well. Palantir creeping back up to the highs. Has regained since it hit a low price of $149 per share, November 21st. Wow, up like 20% since then. So I feel like we're beginning to see where the investors and the market are seeing strength, potential growth, and just feeling confident about the businesses. You're seeing those stocks recover, while you're seeing the stocks that maybe, although they partook in the rally the first time around, they're not really recovering the same way. So I feel like we're seeing the winners and losers kind of develop here. We have to take a look at ASTS too, because ever since George mentioned them at Finimize, it's been nothing but green. So we shall see. Slightly red here today, but they were in the green earlier. So um, yeah, still hanging up near the highs too of where they've been at. Oh, by the way, everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, our Nightbot just shared links to our investing newsletter, trading newsletter. You could sign up using it. You could click right on those. Gilbert's in the stream saying good morning. Good morning, Gilbert. We're about to do the model portfolio update. George is back in here. Here we go. I will type it in the chat so we can let everybody know. Nothing but downward momentum so far today. Oh man, Nick just commented, I had to jump on a call. Did we get a chance to cover Oracle, Costco, and Lulu? Yeah, we did really in-depth coverage of all of them for you. It didn't look too interesting for most of them. Oracle was the best out of the three, I think, George, right? In terms of playing.
Yeah, it was the only one that would even be like, yeah.
Lulu was the worst, I'd say. I think George dropped it as soon as he saw the perplexity.
No, I mean, Lulu was painted a very scary picture. Let's see. Yeah, there was a weird thing where like the sectors weren't working on Thursday. Okay, let's get this going. Okay, what is it? 12:08. Oh, I gotta start sharing the screen.
This guy asked, there's currently a discount code if we do a survey. Do you know when the discount code will be emailed?
Sorry, I'm responding to this guy that is on our Substack. Yeah, once we finish the survey, which is probably in the next day or two, we're gonna let more people. We're just gonna send out a singular email with a discount code to everybody. That's coming. Don't worry. Okay, let's look at this. We want to start sharing our screen. Let's get the model portfolio up.
How do you tell if a company is growth or value? We're being asked. Is it mainly the fundamentals or anything else?
Yeah, value is a lot easier. It's just going to be, you're mainly going to be looking at their PE ratio relative to comps. There's like objective value, which is just like generally if you have a PE below 10, that's going to be kind of like objective value. But it depends on the sector. There's definitely some sectors where it can run on average even lower than that. So it depends.
Someone just popped in asking about the 60% year-end questions. It's still active. It's linked in our Twitter posts from earlier today too. That's probably the easiest way to find it if you want to check
Oh
it
yeah,
out.
yeah. Fill it out. There's going to be here. You can provide the link, but yeah, it's going to be a few more days. What am I doing? No, I need to share my screen. Okay. Here we go. Oh, can you look at LEU? I don't have it. Okay, we have 39, and this is 46. Yeah, that's about the same. Where are SPY and QQQ in option segment?
QQQ is 22 now, and SPY is 0.
Pretty much where it was last week. Yeah. Can you look up some of these? Yeah, I'm gonna paste them for you. I think look up. People want to tell me what the net option sentiment for those is. Oh, that's annoying. So it's FSS, SR, VC, Cressy. Why would it paste like that? That's annoying. Steven, you're going to tell me that?
Yeah, I'm getting them. You ready?
Yeah, just tell me.
FSS 36, SR 35, VC 18, Cressy 52, Meso 72, XOP 36.
Meso is 72. See, that's why we do this. Oh, Meso. Oh, XOP. Okay. That's good.
JC asks, when the signal shows arrows next to the number, is that an indicator of momentum?
No, I think it's just it's an indicator that it's a high value in that metric. Okay.
I think high or low, because like it shows up when it's at the bottom of the.
Oh yeah, I mean the direction of the arrow.
Yeah. Small caps continue to look better. We'll target at least one bull in that area. Tech is doing better, and a bad day for consumer discretionary. We'll look for opportunities in these spaces. Nick is saying Broadcom has earnings this week too with 100 technical flow score right now. Any interest?
Technical flow is not my favorite to indicate an earnings thing because that's a pretty momentum heavy. What is going on with AMC? What's going on with it today? Intel 12.4. Might be late on that, but it's doing well today. It's worth looking at. Okay. I think that's good. Yeah. Okay, and then I think I feel good about this. All right. We're going to do this. Oh, and then let's do a little screener. I want to do. Let's see what we get. We're sorry, we have not been doing very well on these screeners lately, but damn, UAM1 looks good. We're getting in. All right, done with that. Do this screener. That's live, so we can push. Okay. Any questions?
I think we are caught up on all of our questions.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Normal schedule this week. Back Wednesday, 3 p.m. Thank you, George. See you guys there this Wednesday. Bye, everyone.